Oh, my family, you know we're a little late. We're a little late. That's okay. Because today, y'all know it's Friday. Fridays are my favorite day because we bring in the most incredible people who are going to change your life. So if you're ready for your life to get changed in your jammies, today's a good day to get your life changed. Listen, we're going to go over to the Morning Five Planner. This is the quote of the day. It says, resilience is the root of progress. Resilience is the root of progress. This was contributed by Sonia Messer. Thank you so much, my friend, for sending that in. Speaking of resilience, there's one man, when I think about resilience, I think of him.
People have talent. People have a lot of talent. And this is going beyond your talent. So when there's no more talent, what happens to you? Most people quit. People only go to their talent level. And once your talent level is gone, it becomes a mental game. That whole mental game sets in then. And most people can only perform to their talent. And they realize, man, why am I always messing up right here? Why is this like my big hurdle? It's because you're performing to your talent. And then after that, your mind has nothing for you. Nothing for you. I see fighters, I see runners, I see people who they're great, but they get to the edge of their talent. It's like, man, what's up? Because you're now at the point now where your talent ain't gonna do it for you, my friend. Now it's the mental game.
Good morning and welcome to #Rise and Grind, the #1 morning show in the world filled with motivation, education, and inspiration. I am your host, Glenn Lundy, husband to 1, father to 8, and the founder of the 800% Club, the club designed to help you unlock your full potential. Each episode is filled with celebrity interviews, inspiring conversations, and the strategies you need to get ahead in your career and your life. So grab your pen and turn up the volume because it's time to rise and grind.
It is February the 9th. 2024. It's Friday. How you feeling? How was this week? We were talking about dreams and aspirations, catching stars all week. And it was kind of deep in here, man. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. Because, listen, this stuff we do is a mental game. Getting up at 5:30 a.m. morning, getting your goals and your dreams out there into the world, man. I have somebody with us today that is just a light in this world. I've been going through her content and her story is powerful. Her gift of communicating is next level. We're going to bring her in just a second, but y'all know I got to throw some trash real quick. You know I got to throw some trash because this Sunday, man, it's called the 49ers. And me and Don Sankey, we're just going to throw a club, a 49er club, a Super Bowl club. If you are a Chiefs fan, I am sorry, not sorry, but you're going to get your booty whoop, whoop. I'm ready for it. Also on Sunday, Glenn Lundy's book, The Legacy Titles, is officially available over on Amazon. Of course, you can pre-order that before. I believe that helps. You got to ask Ramon Ray. He's the man there. But go ahead and get a pre-order in, and you can obviously grab your copy on Super Bowl Sunday. Super proud of him for that. But I don't want to waste any more time. This morning, we have a powerhouse. We have a wife, a mom, a writer, an artist, an athlete. She says that she has a lot of fires going, man, and she prefers it that way. This is Cameo Braun. Here's a little snippet from her.
I've had to go back and nurture that young lady who was damaged by being teased, and that's what kids do. And I know that's lame to give an excuse, but I don't feel like anyone ever really knows what they're doing when they're teenagers. They have an example, they try, you try your best to help your kids shape and form who they are and how they treat people, but their frontal lobes aren't even developed yet. Right. So half the time they say stuff, they don't even know what they say or what they mean or how damaging it can be. So, but I had to go back and nurture that young lady and say, like, those boys didn't really know, they didn't appreciate, they didn't understand. They weren't talking about you, Cameo, the person. They were just commenting on this outer shell of this superficial, stature, this, whatever. The other day I was on a call and they were talking about how it's important to stay in your lane so that you don't confuse people, so that they know what to expect from you. And like, I get that, but I don't think I agree with it. I think not having a lane is my lane, because my goal is to empower everyone here to do the things that you love. And all of the things that I share, all the things that I do, they're all me, and I'm sharing them to empower you to find the things that you love and maybe help inspire you to do so.
Woo, let's go. 5:30 a.m. She's here. She's live. She's absolutely gorgeous. How in the world do you do it at 5:30 a.m.? Everybody, I want you to drop some love, drop some emojis for our beautiful guest, Cameo, who says she is a self-proclaimed role juggler. That's what you lead with everywhere. And I'm so curious about this, my friend. A self-proclaimed role juggler. Where'd that come from? And it sounds like you're pretty proud of it.
Yeah, it just dawned on me one day that we all are role juggling. We associate with the labels and the titles that we wear, and there's no reason why I can't be proud of that and lead with it, because it makes everyone feel like, okay, I'm not alone. And I'm also juggling, and sometimes I'm dropping balls, and sometimes I'm struggling, but I'm juggling and I'm trying to make it work. And it just is something that landed and resonated with me. So I'm like, let's roll with it.
It resonates with me for sure. I feel you, my friend. Now, when you go to your website, you look through your bio, you talk about this move. There was a move from Ohio to Florida. And I thought, like, well, people move quite a bit, but obviously there was something in this move that is a really important part of your story. So why from Ohio to Florida?
There wasn't really a reason for Florida. But at that time in our life, I was experiencing kind of a rock bottom. Everything that I had compartmentalized as perfect in my mind was kind of coming to a crashing halt. My marriage was struggling. I was accumulating a lot of debt. I was really unhappy in my career. Our kids were wonderful and always have been, so that was the one piece that was kind of keeping me going. And I had just become a professional bodybuilder, and I blew out my shoulder, and I had surgery, and I was sitting in the chair one day thinking, I don't know if I can live here in this gray Ohio space any longer. What's holding me back from thinking that it's possible to move? And went through my list of all of the things, family, familiarity, who do I think I am? Where would I go? What would I even do? And finally thought, you know what, those are all excuses. Let's figure out how to make this work. And took a chance in kind of seeking out whether or not my position and my husband's positions were available at a big bank that we were working at the time. And they were. And we thought, let's go to Florida where it's warm, where we always vacation to. And, kind of the luck of the draw, we landed where we are in Southwest Florida on the Gulf Coast.
Beautiful.
We took a chance.
So that's kind of perfect, because this week we've been talking about dreams, aspirations, going after it. And it's honestly been kind of a more serious week, because, we think about, you're going to follow after your dreams and you're going to work really hard and then they're going to happen and you're going to be so motivated. The truth is, a lot of times when we work really hard, we face these huge ass roadblocks, like you did with becoming a professional bodybuilder. I mean, I don't even know how crazy the work must have been, the focus would have been with that. And then you have this injury. So navigating through, because, we hear these motivational stuff like, just show up, just be consistent. And when you are showing up, when you are being consistent and you are doing the right things, and sometimes life literally, knocks you off your feet. How do you process that with feeling called to do one thing and then facing an injury that I'm guessing may have put a huge dent in that and maybe have stopped you from becoming one?
Yeah. I think at the time I was so involved with what my labels and titles meant for me that it was really difficult. And, this change and this move was a brave, bold move to say, I'm not going to stop just because a hurdle has been thrown. Just because all of these things are not working out the way that I originally thought they would, that doesn't mean that I'm going to give in. I'm just going to pivot. And I don't really know what that looks like yet. And I'm going to, step up to the plate and really dig deep to figure out who I am in this moment and what that means in the future. So the athletic endeavor was very important to me. I associated a lot of my worth at that time with that and that label and winning that professional status. And when that was stripped away, you have really no other choice but to turn inward and, like I said, really dig deep to try to figure out, what does this mean for me? Who am I? And who do I want to show up as moving forward?
So I've heard people say something similar before of, taking, and I've just told you before, I'm reading The Untethered Soul right now, and that's the whole first chapter is ridding labels and really digging in deep to who you are. And I'm only on chapter 4, so I haven't got to this answer yet. So I'm going to ask you when you do start stripping some of these labels, say, okay, well, maybe I'm not a professional bodybuilder. Maybe I'm not a mom. Maybe I'm not a wife. I am Cameo. How do you dig in and find out who that is? Because that's a word, that's a name, but really finding out the essence and identity of who you are. What have you discovered, and like what steps did you take to figure that out? Because I'm thinking like Heather, and everything I think who she is, a label still comes back.
Yeah, I think labels are fine if we aren't identifying with them so much that it determines our worth, our self-worth. So for me, removing those labels is a part of the process of really understanding, who was I before the world kind of told me who I had to be? Who was I before I had to show up and deliver based on what that label, how I'm supposed to portray myself in that label? And if it still fits after I remove it and reconnect with myself, who's my little girl? What did I love doing before? And am I really showing up in that way? If that label or that role still fits, awesome. If it doesn't, maybe I need to decide, is that something that I want to continue to, embark on? And that was a major part of that transition for myself and my family, was really getting in touch with who we are and what we really want instead of what we think is expected of us. And I'm still a mom, I'm still a wife, I'm still a writer, I'm still all of those words that describe me, but they don't make me who I am. I am who I am, and those are things that I do. And that's been a major shift, a mindset shift for sure.
I love that. So I want you guys over on YouTube, Facebook, do me a favor, drop in not the bad labels. Let's have some good labels. What are all the roles that you have in your life? I'm curious. We got Christina Howard over on YouTube, Pastor Jeff, Ryan, Tosh Queen, Scott Simons, good to see you. Tony, switching over to Facebook, we got Catherine, Mary Kim, Natasha, Glow, Brian, Carrie Carter, Mary Lynn. What are some of the roles that you have in your life right now that you identify with? I'm sure when you start writing it out, it's a freaking huge list. And that's what's really interesting when you start doing this work. And speaking of work, Cameo, one of the things you're very vocal about is this journey of sobriety as well. And I wanted to dig in a little bit to that. I think 8 years sober. So what led to that? And just talk a little bit about why you lead with sharing that information with people.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I am approaching 9 years. I don't know exactly what my anniversary date is, because when I stopped drinking, I didn't know I was going to stop drinking. Forever was a scary word. And so I was really taking it one day at a time. At that point in our life, we had moved to Florida. We had almost been here a year. My husband had stopped drinking almost immediately when we moved to Florida, and we were renovating our life. And in evaluating who I am and how I show up and what all of those labels meant to me, and how I needed to prioritize my time by the meaningful things in my life, I realized that alcohol was taking up, one, a ton of time. Two, it made me someone that I wasn't extremely proud of being. And it didn't allow me, number three, to show up in the way that I really wanted to at that stage, when I was really understanding who I was and what I wanted to be and what I wanted to, set as an example for our kids. And so through my husband's example, some other friends, I saw that it was possible. And I had a moment where I was chugging a glass of wine and finally decided, like, this is not this is not who I want to be. This does not serve me well. This does not allow me to show up in the way that I want. Even if I think I can drink a little bit here or there, clearly I'm not doing it very well and I don't need this. And that was the day that I decided I'm done with this. It is an option to not drink, and I'm going to really step in and embrace that, even if it's uncomfortable. And it was, that was a pivotal moment for me.
Amazing. I have a question about that, but a pivotal moment for me right now is that your sound just started working with our side by side.
Oh, great.
Woo,
I still
woo.
can't see you, but we're rolling with it.
So y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even know we were having so many technical difficulties, but we're rolling on through because this message needs to be heard. Let me press in a little bit more if you're okay with that, because you said something really interesting before you talked about the journey towards quitting. You said, I didn't even know that I was going to be quitting when you quit. And sometimes, and I don't know if it was an addiction or not. I mean, but I know for me, the addictions that I have and the habits that I have, I do it mindlessly. And so stopping something that's mindless or something that you're in a routine and you're a habit for, even if the want is there, sometimes the behavioral stuff, man, that's the hardest piece. And I'm so curious because I know, like for me, one of my addictions that I had for the longest time, one day I just woke up and I said, I'm done. Like, forget this. And I literally cold turkey was just done with it. And I've never experienced anything like that in other habits and other addictions that I have. Because side note, y'all, do you know we're all addicted to something? Do you know that something in your life I've had to work really hard on? So I'm curious with you. It sounds like you just woke up one day and you're like, enough is enough. Am I assuming that, or what was your journey of just like actually getting off of it?
Yeah, it's kind of that way. As I mentioned, I had this moment where I was chugging a glass of wine, and that was kind of a moment of like, oh, come on, Cameo. Like, this is not how you want to show up in your life. And up until that point, I had not been drinking very often because my husband had stopped drinking.
How
And the
come? Why did
other
he
really,
stop?
he stopped because we had moved to Florida and we're really evaluating where things fit in our life. And, you know, I wouldn't say that he was any worse or any more addicted or any heavier of a drinker than I was, but it was definitely impacting him in a way that was not allowing him to really be involved or be an active participant in his life.
Yeah.
And he had just had enough, I think, before I did. And with all of that change and the move to Florida, it made sense at that time. You know, I talk a lot about changing people, places, and things. I did not go through a 12-step program, but I know that that's something that they do talk about in those rooms. And we had kind of already changed our people, places, and things with this move. And we were still trying to figure out, you know, where do all of these things fit in our life? So I am grateful for that. I do believe that that made it maybe a little bit easier on me. I was not physically dependent upon alcohol, which is part of the reason why I never thought I needed to quit. I never thought I
Ooh,
had a
that'll
problem.
preach.
Yeah, and it's not really about having a problem, right? It's about evaluating if it serves your life well. And when I shifted that mindset, and through the months of, you know, kind of doing that with all of the things in our life with the move, that was the moment for me where I was like, I'm going to give myself permission to try another way. Alcohol will always be there. It is everywhere. If I want to drink again, maybe I will. Who knows? I'm going to take it one day at a time. And today I'm not drinking. And probably tomorrow I won't drink. And we'll just keep going like that. And here we are
That's super
almost 9 years
cool.
later.
I love the people, places, and things idea. Y'all know I'm going to throw up Stephen Pressfield again. I've been running Stephen Pressfield out their throats all week. He wrote The War of Art, but he also wrote another book called Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be, or something like that. And he was talking about literal physical changes that sometimes if we have a dream or we need a change, you need to physically change your environment. And sometimes, you know, that could be something small or as drastic as what you guys did was literally changing your whole life. I'm so curious, you know, looking at that change kind of in the aftermath, do you recommend stuff like that for people who need a big shift? What were some of the pros that came of it, and maybe even some of the cons?
So I would say you don't have to pack up and move 1,000 miles away from everything that you've ever known in your life to make a change. You can make small, meaningful changes right where you are. And it starts with a decision. It starts with, making the choice that you deserve and that you have permission to do what it is that you feel is best for you, not what you think you should be doing for everyone else all the time. And then taking action. And whatever action looks like, that may be getting up 15 minutes earlier every day. It may be drinking more water and making it a point to drink less alcohol. It just really depends on what you're talking about, I guess, but small action will lead to big compounding effects in your life. I do highly recommend that when someone is looking to make meaningful change in their life, that they really do evaluate the things that are taking up their time, that are taking up space in their life. I use the Stephen Covey reference of having a jar full of pebbles, sand, and rock. And I've kind of changed that from a time management tool to a meaningfulness priority tool for me. Alcohol was just a bunch of sand in my jar that was pushing out my big rocks, my kids, my husband, me, the things that I love to do for me, my goals. And I had to dump out the jar and kind of put the big rocks in first. And I feel like that is great advice for everyone to really evaluate how things fit into your jar according to how meaningful they are for you. And if there's something that's sand and it's filling up your jar fast, it's got to go. And sometimes that means making uncomfortable choices about who you're hanging around, because they say, right, show me the 5 people you hang around, you're going to be the 6th one with the same activity, or show me your friends, I'll show you
I
your
can
future,
preach.
something to that
Yes.
notion. And that's true for people that we hold near and dear. That's true for strangers. That's true for what we see on social media. It's also true for where we hang out and who we choose, the environment that we choose to be in, and all of the activities that we make decisions about on a daily basis. So there are so many opportunities to find small ways to implement ways to show up better in your life without moving 1,000 miles away.
Preach,
For sure.
girl. Preach, girl. Okay, so here we are. Here we are. You had this injury. You and your whole family decide that you want to make this big life change. You move to Florida. You and your husband go through some lifestyle changes, get sober, and here you are in Florida. Talk to me about reinventing your dreams, re-tapping into who you are, and what you are dedicating your life right now to doing.
Yes, thank you. Removing alcohol within the first year of living here gave us a ton of clarity and a ton of time. And so we were already focused on our own self journeys and really tapping back into who we are as people first. That allowed us to then focus on our marriage as kind of this me and our marriage. They all have different needs. They all have different requirements for happiness, for feeling fulfilled. And our marriage had kind of been getting neglected. And this reset allowed us to bring it back into the mix and start giving it, the attention and love that it deserved. We started spending a ton more time with our kids and making choices about what we were going to do for a living based on how it kind of fit into our life rather than how it was going to make our life. And, I know that sounds crazy and it's maybe not, it doesn't feel realistic for everyone, but I had landed a pretty big role, but it required me to travel a lot. And moving to Florida, the goal was not to be away from my family. It was to really pull in and be together more. And that role was not going to fit into that. I had to make a really difficult decision that although that career choice or that financial situation was really beneficial for us, it didn't fit in what we really wanted as a family. And so those are the hard decisions that I'm talking about. But that then opened up opportunity, right? Because until you kind of remove things that are taking up space or that aren't in alignment with who you are or what your life looks like or what you want it to look like, you don't see spaces for opportunity. So when we removed these things and when I made that choice about the career and the job, it opened opportunity for us to work together. And I feel like we gave up, alcohol and distractions for partnership in all ways in our marriage. And one of those ways was starting our own business. So we run a mortgage company in the state of Florida, and we work really closely in our community with local real estate agents and people who are moving from across the country like we did every single day, which is really fulfilling to be able to help in that way. But that would not have come into play had we not made those other decisions first. And so it's allowed us to really build a beautiful life that prioritizes our kids, prioritizes our family, prioritizes ourselves, and allows us to flourish and set big goals in business, in athletics, in music, and take chances that we wouldn't have otherwise had, I think, if we hadn't broken out of that what we're supposed to be doing role.
You seem so focused, like you know exactly what you want. Do you feel that way?
I do, yeah. And I didn't a decade ago when we moved to Florida. I was like, what in the world is going on? All of these things that I thought I had together are like not together at all. And I've been trying to control them and hold on to them so tightly that I'm so out of control and so lost and feel so stuck. And a decade of work, a decade of making hard choices, a decade of prioritizing the most meaningful things in our lives and in my life has led me to this point where now there's no question about who I am, what I want, what decisions I have to make, and how I need to show up every day. I have to do things scared. I have to do things that seem crazy to everyone else. And I encourage everyone else to do that too, because the more you do those big, crazy things, the more you do them scared, the easier, quote unquote, it is to show up and do them the next time, because you learn that like, oh, I'm still here. You build a little resilience and you're like, that didn't break me. I've been through some hard things. You give yourself a little bit of love and appreciation for that. And then you're like, let's do the next thing. What's the next thing?
I love that. Tell me about your show, your content. What's your intention behind that?
Thank you for asking. I have a podcast. It's called The Cameo Show. I started it almost exactly a year ago, and I had no clue what I was going to do. So another big, bold, crazy thing that was scary. And a year later, we put out an episode every week. It's either me, my husband and I, or we have a really inspiring guest. And what this has evolved into is really this movement of empowerment and like stories of, hey, we're all just people, we're all just trying to figure it out. And my story may have different details than yours, but the theme's pretty much the same. And here are some of the things that I've learned that have helped me, and maybe it will help you too. And our guests come on and they share, what they've been through to get to where they are. And we focus not on what they do or the success that they've had so much, but what they've had to go through to get there. And it's been a really fun journey for me, because I had no idea that that was what it was going to evolve into. And then I'm also almost done. I feel like I've been saying almost done forever, but I really mean it. I'm just a few chapters away from completing my book. It's called The Reset Button.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome.
And again, no idea. Thank you. No idea what I was doing there either. Just felt really pulled and called to do it. And it's been a few years, but it's approaching completion. And then I get to embark on the new phase of like, how do I promote and market this book? And how do I publish it? And all of these things. So it's a journey of self-discovery that's just fun, and making time for myself and those things has been integral, because then it allows me to show up for other people. It allows me to show up for our kids in a way that I wasn't before. Yeah. And when I hear them say things that they've heard me say, they don't act like they're paying attention all the time because they're 13 and 18. But when I see them happy and healthy and excelling because they're choosing them first and doing it in a way that's not harmful or hurtful, that's what I'm aiming for. That's who I'm talking to. And, I hope that it lands with so many other people too, because we're all in this together. We're all just trying to show up every day and do the best we can. So
preaching.
Yeah.
Y'all love her. That's right. The Cameo Show. Drop some love in the comments. I got a doozy question for you. I know we're at the top of the hour. If you don't mind me asking you something overly deep at 6 a.m. Let's go.
Let's go for it.
Let's go. It sounds as though there was this moment in your life where things were not working. It was hard and you had to make a decision. if you were going to fight or choose another path. And I've been there. I'm sure everybody in this room has been there where, you know, that saying, choose your hard. Either lane's going to be hard. And you
That's right.
chose the path that you're on right now. I'm curious, looking, you know, years later down the road, reflecting on that moment where you had to make that hard decision. And maybe neither one of them was right and one of them was wrong, you know? How did you choose what you chose and knew that was the right choice for you? What wisdom do you have reflecting back on that time?
That's a great question. I had no idea at the time. I just knew that what I was doing wasn't working, and that if I wanted something, if I wanted to feel better, if I wanted my marriage to have a shot, I had to kind of almost swing the pendulum to the other end of the spectrum or the other side and say, what can I do differently in almost every way? And I I believe in the power of envisioning what you want. And I don't mean that magically it just appears, but I believe that if you start with the end in mind, if you envision what it looks like when it's done, you then start making choices that lead you in that direction. So I knew what we were doing, what I was doing. I knew where that was getting me and what that felt like. And so I had to envision what I wanted it to look like when it was done and then stay in alignment with that, even when it was hard. There were plenty of times when, and still are sometimes, moments where you're like, oh, what am I doing? It's too hard to keep doing this. It's like pushing a boulder uphill, you know? And you just really have to connect with your inner self and that vision of what it looks like when it's done, and ask yourself with honesty, are the choices that I'm making in alignment with that vision? And if they're not, I got some work to do, you know? And sometimes it's scary. It's scary in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scary to take a choice or take a chance and make a choice of, you're not really sure how it's going to play out. But if you keep making choices that allow you to show up better, 1% better every day, those compound and they get you
Yeah.
closer to where you want to be. And you pivot. You make adjustments along the way. If it's not working, if it's not turning out the way that you envisioned, you pivot again, and you pivot again, and you pivot again.
Envisioning, what do you really want? What is your vision? What do you see? Tapping back into that, and then we can get through that kind of hard, man. The goal, the path to that. Listen, we have a final question. Y'all know what it is. I need your help. I see some people helping me over on YouTube. They're already dropping the emojis because I need help with this question, Cameo. Like I struggle with it, but the team here, the team can get me on the right track. So here's the situation. We are going to take you on a mountain. And this is not an ordinary mountain. This is the biggest mountain in the entire world. Huge. It's so huge that everyone that exists right now is standing around that mountain. And what are these folks doing? What are they doing, y'all? They're shouting your name. Cameo! They love you. They are pumped. They are freaking fans. And they are cheering and they are shouting. And someone with a golden microphone, I don't have a microphone, a golden one at least, they come over to you and they hand it to you. And you have 2 minutes to tell this roaring crowd of fans one thing. 2 minutes. This is your only chance, man. Only chance. Mountain time. That's right, Mary Lynn. Don Sankey says you're on a mountain and everyone is listening and chanting. Tosh Queen says you have 2 minutes. So, Cameo, what would you tell them?
Just because you've always done something one way doesn't mean you have to continue to do it that way. You have permission to hit the reset button in your life at any time and simply begin again. You have permission to choose you and what means the most to you and make those your priorities. Establish your big rocks in your jar first and then allow the other stuff to trickle in. And Your jar doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It doesn't have to be what everyone else expects your jar to be or what it should be. You choose what goes in your jar. You choose how you show up every single morning. And you can do it over and over and over and over again. Just start. Don't sit on your talents. Don't sit on your aspirations because you're afraid, because everyone's afraid. And the only difference between the people who get to where they want to be and feel fulfilled in their life, and that doesn't have to be an external goal, that can also be internal, are the people who say, I'm going for it. And I may not get it right, and that is also okay. So up at the top of this mountain, chanting my name, I chant back, just start, just start, just start. Because it's all going to be over soon. Time is flying by and we're not getting it back. So go,
Do y'all,
go,
do y'all
go.
hear what she said? Just because you've done something one way does not mean that you have to continue to do it that way. I don't know who that set free. Heather Parody is first in line with that. We have incredible Miss Cameo from Youngin, Mountain Mic Drop from Rodney Hatfield. Don Sankey says, you have permission to hit the reset button. Great job, Cameo, from Nathaniel Banks. It's over on Facebook. Christina Howard saying, preach, Cameo. Listen, where can people connect with you online? Where you want to guide all these folks to?
I am on Instagram, probably most frequently at Cameo Elise Braun. I also have my podcast that is all on all of the streaming platforms, whatever your favorite is, as well as full videos on YouTube, which is also at Cameo Elise Braun. My husband and I also do music, which is at Waiting for Elise. So if you're a music fan, there's
cool.
some music happening over there. Those are definitely the primary places to go.
Y'all have a lot of projects together. What's that like, working with your husband that closely on work and even sounds like art and creativity?
Yeah, we kickbox together. I mean, we do a lot of things together, and I get asked that a lot. At this phase in our life, we've pulled together, we've chosen partnership, and instead of feeling like it's a competition, we've embraced the things that we bring to the table and how they work together. And I'm having a blast. Like, I've never been happier, because I feel like a little kid running around, and I feel like his little kid is out running around, and we're so focused on enjoying what we're doing. And that includes the stressful part of business and paying bills too, that, I don't get tired of him. If he's listening, he might, he might say differently. There's a few days where I'm like, I need a little space, but for the most part, he's my best friend. And instead of, shying away from that or finding ways to distract myself and get away, we've pulled together and worked on our communication. So anything that wasn't working, we've tried to work out, and that makes for a really nice partnership.
Dang.
And a lot of fun.
How many times do y'all hear stuff like that? Okay, I lied to you. One more quick thing. Embrace partnership. You said we embrace partnership. If you could summarize what that means, I'm super curious, because I've never heard somebody put those two words together. Embrace partnership.
Yeah. I think that for me personally, and what I've experienced in, speaking with so many people, is that we grow up, we get married, and we aren't sure how to come together fully, right? We still hold on to a little bit of our individuality, and that's fine. It's totally fine. But it isn't me versus you. It's not, I'm more important than you. It's come together and, again, focus on the marriage being a third party. And, your union is very important, and it has its own needs. And so we've really focused on making sure that not only am I happy and able to show up and feel safe and supported and loved in ways that I need it, and he is as well, but so is our marriage. And I feel like where we fell off, and where many people do, is that marriage kind of gets pushed to the background after everything else is taken care of. Then we're married all of a sudden. And when we leaned into the fact that our marriage deserves as much love and attention in ways that it feels love and attention just as much as we do as individual people, that's when that true collaborative partnership in our life started coming together. So it's been beautiful.
Dang, I wasn't ready for you this morning. Ooh,
Thanks,
we
girl.
got some people over here saying that she needs to come to Breakfast with Champions. Love you so much. Somebody else said they want to interview you, so you're going to have some DMs, my friend, and some other people. want to have a conversation with you on their show. This was so good. Thank you for getting up early, being just who you are and showing up in this world. You don't have to do any of this. You could have made all these changes and just enjoyed the fruit of all your hard work and the sacrifices that you've made, but you've selfishly decided to help people along the way through your book, your podcast, your content, your vulnerability. So we just applaud you. We honor you. Thank you so much for being here. I want you guys to blow her up. Y'all know how we do. You're not ready, Cameo. You're going to have some stalkers. So send her some DMs and love. Tish White, I already followed her on Instagram. Thank you so much. Cameo, thank you for joining us today. Enjoy your weekend. And listen, y'all, thank you. Thank you for being here over the past 2 weeks. It's been a lot of fun rolling with you. Gratitude last week, dreams and aspirations this one. Glenn Lundy will be back. I know you guys miss him. I miss him. He will be back here Monday to get this show together. Get your lives together. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Pick up the legacy titles. And I love you. Hope you have a great weekend. That's it. Rolling on out.
So far away, I saw you not so long ago. Was it just yesterday? Got that old feeling that I know. In the dark of the night, I'll be alright. The sun will arise.